They draw number. The Garchen Rinpoche got here. You are me catching it. Mario Demon can't get Tavla much to put the Labado. The Tavlaman is something to eat more. Then, Master Unity, Matavla, just something to your Mary. Something difficult, something. Then something told me to so child something. This something, the Jago, this are jokes in the this something, Dama Duncan and Sag or Tata Tatson, Matavla, Gonati. One girl, you say the Tetamji say Chandawari. Mingat on the Mingat on Gary. Mingadri. Tonda Chong to the Chimbo Doctor. The Sajasiba Mingavi. Sajasiba down the Hakon, Cordelia loves and Hakot. Just a now some Jeragasem. Now sells a tattoo, send it over tattoo to Yori. Oh, Cordelia Toto Jackson. They are Megaton to Yori. Double Jalson Bonjon de Bajo. Namasaji Tato, now with them attendo Yori, you did Chimbo Yori. Check some money, don't you? She hakora, oh, that me, continue. Don't want you just or those on the Hakotori. This is a minga to the game in a carretio. Tadamadona. The Genesis, the Deva, the David, just on them, but churches, they took something, this something, or something, the David, then indeed. Doing it, doing it just on tower churches. Drop into you. That 9 changes and say by your total pigos and tilote. Daddy the doing just dandy. Oh, Lily come with the equal of what you and tilote to carry taking my children gong or dancing gong. There's something my Barton will cook it in it. Oh, this time, not cutting something, Gona, they just something good, something that was that good. They must say, you must say, dollar something good. This dark pinky or it. They cutting something that I can see that has some touch.
So, my dear Dharma friends, as I've explained to you, the guru of threefold kindness. And so, even though I do not have much learning, people often come to me and say, can you be my root guru? So if I am your root guru, then in generally speaking, if you have a root guru, then samaya is very important. And so if I'm your root guru, I only give you one samaya. There's only one samaya. And that is the samaya of love. And that means it has to be applied to anyone, not just the guru, but anyone, higher and lower animals, humans, and so on. You need to cultivate and protect your love, sustain your love for all of those beings. And in this way, you accumulate bodhicitta, just like a bee accumulates honey. So again, if I'm your root guru, then this is the one samaya. Now, in terms of the three kindness, the conference of empowerment and the teachings on the tantras, these are all just outer branches, really. But the real important kindness of the guru is the Pith instruction, the third one. And the meaning of the Pith instruction is that Pith, because a small word, a small thing that is conveyed can accomplish something immense, something great. So if you realize Mahamudra, if you only understand the nature of the mind, then you have realized everything in samsara and nirvana. So you must realize ultimately that appearances, the way things appear to you, is your own mind. And then that mind itself is empty of self-nature. And it is that mind that creates all of the happiness and suffering in samsara and nirvana. So in another prayer, we refer to it as the king of views, that awareness, which is the awareness that destroys all kinds of mistaken worldly views. So Pith instruction means that as a small word, a short word, conveys a lot of meaning. And through that one instruction, you can understand, realize the empty nature of samsara and nirvana. So again, what is this instruction, this Pith instruction? Now again, we always make this prayer, may all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. And that cause is love. The happiness, for example, between friends is rooted in love. That is the cause of that happiness. So please recognize that. And then, may all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. For example, again, between two friends, if you always think that I'm the one who is doing everything and they are not doing what I want them to do, and they are supposed to make me happy and be nice to me and so on. If you think in this way, then that's the cause of suffering. That's why there is suffering, because there is self-grasping. So instead, you should let all of that be and just think that I have to benefit that friend. I have to make that friend happy, without thinking about what you want. When you think that, no, I want them to make me happy and they have to do what I want them to do and so on, that is actually a very bad negative state of mind. And that also leads to pride. You're thinking you're the one who's doing everything and so on. So that is what we call the demon of self-grasping, and that needs to be destroyed. So of the 3 kindnesses of the Guru, you must hold on to this Pith instruction, and that is, you must sustain love. Do not lose your love. And that means that you should not only love those who you like and who are near you, but also the so-called adversaries, the enemies. You have to love them too, because this so-called enemy actually is also very beneficial. So this is my explanation on the Guru of Threefold Kindness.
Tata Slada Lama Sajida Lamania Tami Kakado Taga Yori, Demataji Chesi, Kimbo Tindizabu, Namtati to Yang the She Yori. The little tongue so dinner, oh, Talamasi Lama Resi, Sajia Bamijina Yori, Samu Yori. Then you put the tea, but the Nataki, the Kimbo Tindizabu, the Tason. The Mango Shiri, Dodo Jilji, Logicality. 도도 진짜매가 다 대만고는 봐 잡소네. 이 다고 참아다다 대하고 소소를 안 하는 게 잡으라 맞지다 산지에 밤에는 자차자 통통거리 라마티 받지는 산지에 밤에는 통통나 이리 다다로 밤이랑 제들 라마티 예미 받지는 산이 바르도 감이 졸라만 제와치 보유 이 지치 보유나 이 직당 고만이 다다다 배는 것도 이 세마 다들랑 지 라마들랑 진짜로 라마를 제와치 보여be 다다지 공들 라는 생기 건지 라마는 생기 그 말에 대디 초라니게 셀들이 에 이제리 대책이 뭐 대시오라 대내는 양성거리지 이제 셈 담아 쳐대 처만 놓은 셈때 산지에만 라면 셈다 산지 담지 셈때 좋아지는 바도 말도 보여줘서 다 바도들이 초성들이 다른 것을 퍼가 양이지만 담지 저도 농구 요리 이 책대 양다양도 저는 얘네 다타 예미 동적장 말은 첩에 호환 참배세야지 뭐기 양자가 되죠. 이 보면 저도 책대 결국 말이 거기 저도 농구 요리 당말이 생포 사제래지 가다 생포 사제래지 바도들이 차당 니디를 띠들이 차롱 차성들 이 차롱 차다 강이 막고 최성들 어떤 차로도 약대양도 니지 맞었나? 니 매와 하고는 가래가는 차로도 저리 니 매와 차로 요리. 대회를 드릴 때다 rangi depa mo yeche ne lama trina sed lama jorsale sem kono ije me ba ha ko da ji ni me ba ha ko do dam de ba te ha ko di ta yedam trina yedam ne lama trina ji di so yedam trina shan tong so so mulan go chi ta de song ne de le yi chi ji na de ta ta ma su ka men go so so la nga je che mo yo mo le mo che de la li do re bardo ni de 강동 지사들이 나왕이 받으니 정상다 마다 정상게 당을 따당서 사초값이 썰거는 동거리 대다 나시 대다 우리 하고 그래 랑이 받으니 자자다 받으나시 제가리 명제 누가 홍보 소화 등이지라지 이제 항상 나와 차도 꼼짝도 동아 체체는 이바 미죠 자도 롱게 빠지 가도 랑한테 잡아 대도 심 동해진데 가리는 아리 오마이고 정한 게 되어 말이야 일단은 필이 좋나 별로 도코도 되는 데 떠바는 사람이 배치다 차대요리 맞제 매뭐 선대식 뭐고 이제 받아 대들이 라마들이 이제 라마티 연구 요리지 그 라마치 톡만서는 라마를 톡만이 팔라고 말이 저도 랑을 라마를 대바이지 라마 랑을 주의사들 초랑을 세대 메롱만 게도 초랑을 세대 라마는 저들 상실은 저들 니요 말이지 네 욕디가 니메 샤고리 네 하자 담아 사보리 어따 태선 매방 아파도리 잡도도 담아 대도는 난 절대 파도는 철착사 니발 속에도 틀린 정상 착해도 네 유몽 독서를 안 돌아 네 따당 미성좀 살려고도 야자자 요들은 살면 좀 미들은 살면 좀 미대 받다고 미도 말이 초라고 시랑 유몽 독서 미나 저 자원 토 자원 마방 서는지 샘도니 샘 코르도 박차발이야래 맨날 저기 타발 빨자오나 빨자오나 서지가 사토 대 삼마 탑고 봐다 이 샤르머리 저기까지 뛰는 때 샤르머리 이 박차한테 갈게 써들 때 나디들을 좋아 나디 대신에 박차한테 제일 빨리 샤요야 요 말이 얘네들이 나디 세야 돼 다다니 다사족 셈나 맞지 다사족 거도 사족서 나디 됐어 드리디 도다사족 니디 시소 살아 셈땅마 상제시 봐도 셈땅마리 뭐 이걸 하고는 드리 랑그 담마랑 이치 맞지 않지 뭐지 이치 맞지서 요 말이 이치 맞지가 별거 세대식 내로 하고서 얘네들이 나오고 드리디에서 놈 유모 속지 못 제어가 고함대서 야 어떻게 유모면 근데 미 노독스 곰들은 유모면 도 망보라고 곰들은 유모면 도 뭐만 유모면 독시 그것도 이래서 그 때문에 어디다 저 독이 먹으러 곰죠 따지면 뭐 유모 잡지 20배 있었지 저거 독스 유모 20을 저러고서 파파냐미 저기 오래 좋아 렉토는 유모 독적 봐서 요 말이지 대답지 20배 저거 나가면서 소소했다 야 세상 지모들 랑 딴양미실 장이 들어줘. 요말, 우니면도, 당연히 유모스 타고도 없지. 라인지가 유모가 대다고 이치질, 랑을 당말 이치질에, 대치를 들이 이치질 대바를 들이 연구요리. 들다 뒤는 있다다, 니가 뒤는 보는데, 송요인데, 니, 아무튼 대줘서, 맞아. 다들 그만도 저래. 네, 내라고.
So I myself have had all kinds of different gurus, maybe 3 different kinds. There's some who I really sought to receive vows and so on, such as the restoring and purifying vows, and who then looked after me with kindness. And then there are some who just appeared naturally without any pre-arrangement. And then also I've told many stories about all of these gurus. Some of them came to me, and then there are some with whom I just had a certain karmic connection, and then we came together. And so all of these gurus, sometimes people regard them all as separate. So they say that like the deities and the different Buddhas and the guru, they're all like different. They're separate. So actually, in order for that misconception not to arise. That's why I have again and again shared the story of the Guru Khenpo Tenzin Sangpo. Because otherwise, if we don't understand this point, we will think that the Guru is the Guru and the Buddha Amitabha, for example, is someone else. So in order to really purify this kind of grasping, this misconception, for good, I've explained in my stories the story of Khenpo Tenzin Sangpo. And so that story should dispel that kind of fixation. And so what is to be understood is that we cannot say that one is this and the other one is that. Actually, I personally have seen my root guru as the Buddha Amitabha with 100% certainty. So if you have this faith, then you will be able to see the Guru also as the deity, the Buddha Amitabha, indivisible from the deity and indivisible from your own mind. And then in that case, if you see the Guru in that way, then later, when you come into the bardo after death, you remember the Guru with love and devotion. That's all you need. There's nothing else that you need at that time. Nothing else than remembering the Guru with love and devotion. And so you habituate to that by always remembering the Guru the moment you wake up every day from sleeping. You immediately remember the Guru with great love and devotion. And as you mentioned before, the meaning of Lama, so La as he is the kind of life essence of all beings, and Ma because he's the mother of all sentient beings. So in this way, as you wake up every day, remember the Guru and recognize that and fully trust that the essence of that Guru's mind is indivisible from your own Buddha nature. So then that state of devotion will arise in the bardo, and you will not project confused, suffering, terrifying manifestations at that time, because you have realized that your own mind and the Guru's mind, the Buddha's mind are one. Otherwise, no, when we don't see it that way, then we again will become obscured by thoughts of ignorance. So many of you, especially those who practice Vajrakilaya, are familiar with this one verse in the Kilaya practice, in the confession, where it says that since primordial times, you and I have been inseparable, but then I began wandering in samsara out of ignorance. Due to ignorance. So that is also a line you should remember again and again. And those who practice Vajrakilaya are always reciting this line. And so in the beginning, our minds were the same. So in the beginning, the mind is original purity. Then in the middle, then the mind has frozen into an ice block due to dualistic thinking. And then as a result of that, we encounter many difficulties. And when you realize that there is no self and other, no duality, then slowly as you habituate to this, the ice block of self-grasping, of duality will melt. And that should be practiced with faith and devotion as the basis. Because when you practice with devotion, then the Guru is already accomplished within your own mind at that time. And you will then naturally realize that self and other are inseparable. You will realize the ultimate truth. And then in the bardo, when you think of the yidam will appear. When you think of the Guru as the yidam, the Guru will appear as the yidam. You will directly see their face. So this is actually also a line that comes from the Gongji Gyamtso, the Ocean of a Single Intent Prayer. Otherwise, in the world, ordinary people with precious human bodies are very prideful, just like gods. The existence is much like gods. And then later, when that carries on into the bardo, in the bardo, whatever is in your mind will become projected before you as fearsome manifestations. For example, when we practice the Changjok for the deceased, then we bring to mind the bardo consciousness, and in one of those lines it says, no, once you're in the bardo, your consciousness goes on without any freedom, without any control. The consciousness, or the bardo being, is a four-named consciousness, so of which the nature of feeling or sensation is suffering. And being blown around in the bardo, like a feather in the wind, you experience the suffering of hunger and thirst and heat and cold without any control over where to go. And so at that point, when you are in such a state, all the pride you may have had while you were alive as a human is completely gone. At that time, you will take anything that will rescue you without any pride, because you're so terrified that you will take any help that comes. For example, when you're so hungry that you're starving to death, you might even eat excrements without any pride. So at that time, we can help them by calling upon them to remember the Guru, to remember the Yidam. And so at that time, there is actually not even a need to say something, because it is naturally conveyed from mind to mind through the power of your own devotion, your own conviction. And that is because the mind itself is like a mirror. And whatever comes to your mind will be reflected, and then will also be reflected within their minds. So then within your own mind, if there is a state of non-duality, then that becomes reflected back to them, and they may realize the ultimate truth. So that's a very profound instruction. And if you understand it, then you will be free of any doubts and know that certainly in the bardo I can be protected. I surely will be protected, and I can benefit those who are in the bardo, for example, through the smoke offering practice and so on, from their confused perceptions, can pacify their deluded, fearsome manifestations. Because all these manifestations are only the projection of their own afflictive emotions, the three poisons. And so if the three poisons become reflected in the bardo, then with 100% certainty, one will go into the three lower realms. Now, whether one believes in it or not, even if you say, I will not go, if the afflictions are in your mind, you will still go. Because it's just the nature of that state of mind. And so therefore it doesn't matter who one is, whether one is a rich king or a poor beggar. If one has the afflictive emotions, especially anger in their mind, then these karmic patterns, these imprints will project, just like you're watching a film, like a TV, on a TV. When the film is running, no one can just delete it, and it will run until the end. And so similarly, as long as self-grasping is not eliminated, you cannot stop the karmic imprints from projecting various manifestations like a film. So in order to stop that, we have to eliminate self-grasping. And first, we do that through the relative bodhicitta. And then through the ultimate bodhicitta, whereby we purify all dualistic grasping. And then the mind becomes completely pure, the essence kaya, or the mind of a Buddha. And so that should become a real certainty in your mind, that you really trust in yourself, no matter what anyone says. That you have this nature and you have this potential because you possess Buddha nature. So first you might feel, now I have understood that, I understand that. Then next, second, you should experience that. For example, when an afflictive emotion arises, meditate at that time. And then experience and see how, when you really meditate, how the affliction really goes away. Some people actually have said that this is really what happens. They have said that when I really meditate, the affliction goes away. And when I do not meditate, then afflictions arise again. And this is really how it is. You just need to experience it. Gain the experience of how, when you actually meditate, how the affliction goes away. Just like being burned by fire, the affliction transforms into primordial wisdom. So that also is explained in the Vajrakhilaya practice. And then all the sentient beings in the 6 realms of samsara have but one afflictive emotions. We are all the same. And therefore, when you eliminate an afflictive emotion in your own mind, then that makes it that much lighter for all beings. So really observe for yourself. Look at your own mind. How does awareness burn away the afflictive emotions like fire? For example, when strong anger arises in you, then meditate at that time. Look at that mind of anger, and you will see that there's nothing really there. And there is no real anger, nothing that's really actually there. And so in this way, as you meditate, then the affliction will dissolve. And as it dissolves, it also dissolves in others, because there is only one affliction. And so from this experience, you develop trust because you have experienced it. And so then from that is really how the trusting faith arises.
Di dabar kasakan kibo tusum jadi rumah pe mangbo yore tama debde yore di na toto zek kan song do de na kam sum ran chong ji ya ye nas rodok derse ni bo ji yi che bo ngo chu be gang de dok jang ya ye kan sa da ro jang ye lang la ma cha da se cha chi ji yin se ti ju we ben sen song ta ti na da re song di de che ti Daman de sumba te tongwa cha de ye na la cha wa nga shi ma ni ma de di song de yang de di song de kin chi chang ja zo zo lang do di chi chang ja zo de yang na la ma cha de ye la ma zhao shi ka le la gu de o me kong shi kong nga shi ma ni men zhe ma do ma ge se lu kong ja zo yo le Dando de total gas and then don't worry. Then possible not some America learn Jerem the degree. Woman, oh, combating, oh, what's the root of Jerem to doxy? Ya not the dog, not the Egypt with dog dogs. Man, drying, Lona Conway. Hey, Chong, Garchen Rinpoche base, Garchen Rinpoche. Chong, what's the root of your bed? Easy. The matter check the Conga in the passer. Then in the ya, take the ring cabaret, that you take you love your marriage. Yena did the Jesus in the Congress song something like a sword in Italy, like a Sentinel model, the Congress text on something, or Law somebody, they go on what to check. They can check. Thank you what it is about you. Tango, Kogan, or Chicamarese. Part of the Congress, yes, you know. Homa Nandona Malam Tani, Malam Jig Martan Leviorits. Pardo Yiji Oshi the Kari or the Yiji Oshi, the chick the Moimbe, Mavis, the Ababi, Jesus Ababi, the Makashism. Any Jew, the Lapan upon the dinner on subjection, Makako took out of the Jew Sagado. They don't know that is it all. The Ababi, the Miss the Ababi Thompson. 让个这爸妈当然这爸爸只有这么掏手上，呀就提给他这出你什么早晚讲吧，这里个工人好拍掉的，公文写的，哦，去不拍掉的，是，我去不必须去不拍掉的，我当去不打这个，让这地方这里啊不，两个人啊怕死啊送头了，你想偷他手是。 你要讲通啥说的，这地方一个人来了，通通有嘛的听到不？妈妈通用的，比第三个已经无锡的， 내가 코바미리스 코게랑 나토송 책대로 시험에 대로시를 들이 지를 들어올 저기 들어올 내내 주시하게 들다리 지지들 항상 막차래 다 라마도 사지 예매 바레스 되나게 지 데리기 요레스 들이 다다 이 강대 대자 야예 강 사다로 자이다 나서 이제 가리 니산 촉샘 냠을 랑이 도와당 샘 코는 거랑 시대라 내가 지금 찹대요 내가 지금 랑지 때리 살려버리 내가 지금 매만 말해 요래 요가에서 사도당이 내도 늦게다고 말해야지 자소다 왜지 소는 때문에 속에 더서 나가 로마리 아무데가다 요래 아무리 랍치를 소는 다 검자버리지 검자를 샘도 당차ski 책들을 라치는 바디 상은 대화치는 게 우리한테 차성스 상자 메이로도스 대도 영영했더니 매만 말이 도야 요리랑 샘도 대식이 뭐냐면 다 대다 요리 대다 중에 저당 담이 일을 붙여도 책 가르치고 서디 라마 사지에서 들어가다 대화치 시험랑 사족세로 들어가 대니들이 로마 대결에 같이 와야 돼 무슨들이 아그때 율라바이지 그렇게 뭐 들으면 남다 되리
Regarding the fivefold path of Mahamudra, there was a quote we mentioned before by Jikung Master Dhammaraja, and he said, and you realize that everything that appears and exists is the form of the deity. You have perfected the generation stage of the secret mantra. I've explained this verse many times. And then now there is another teaching by Milarepa, from Milarepa's 100,000 songs, but it's one of those songs that were compiled and translated by Khenpo Tenzin, Tulchum Gyamtso. And so actually Khenpo Tulchum Gyamtso, I can say he's also like a lama of mine, although we haven't actually really met, or we have but not really met. But anyways, I received many blessings through this book, and it's a very short book that contains just a few selected verses of Milarepa's songs. And so I encourage you also to have a look and read that. And there's this one line here in the song called "The Three Ways of Being Content." So there it says, "In the three realms, a self-arisen infinite palace, all six kinds of sentient beings have the heart of the Sugata. Through being introduced to great primordial wisdom, everywhere I stay is an infinite palace. Everyone I associate with is a deity. Everything is the Dharmadhatu when I act like this, content not to have sacred symbols outside." And that is related to how the Nyingma teachings often put it when they speak about the nature of appearances, sounds, and awareness. And also the meaning of Dhammaraja's quote before is also the same. So all appearances are the deity and all sounds are the mantra. So this little booklet was translated by Khenpo Tsurten Gyamtso. And he's sort of a lama of mine. So the reason why I say sort of is because actually we don't really know each other. Long in the past, I've never met him, and he hasn't heard about me either. But I really always wanted to meet him. And so one time in the early days when I first came to America, we had there was a program scheduled in Prescott. And so at that time I heard that Khenpo Tsurten Gyamtso actually has an event going on there. And then I said, I must go there, I must meet him. So I went, and then I met him, and he said to me, "So are you Garchen Rinpoche?" And I said, "Yes." And then I asked him, "So are you Khenpo Tsurten Gyamtso?" And then he said, "Yes." And that was it, and we didn't say anything else. That is the only exchange we had. And then we just both said, okay, yeah. And then that was the end of the conversation. But even though we didn't say anything else, he really became like a Lama to me. Because it's mainly the words that he spoke. And that is included within, these words really are summarized within this little booklet. And I have used this little booklet of his translation many times as a basis for my teachings, also when I gave teachings to disciples, because I find that the words are very concise and very easy to understand and carry great blessings. So I use this book often to base my teachings on. And so that's the first story, and the second one is the story about Khenpo Tenzin Sangpo. Also in the early days, we have never met before, and also I didn't know anything about him. So then one morning at Gar Monastery, I had this kind of dream of a vision of a bird that appeared, and that is also very similar. Maybe the perception I had was very similar to the lucid mind or clairvoyant mind that one has in the bardo. That is a quality of Buddha nature. And so through that, the moment I saw that bird, I thought this is Amitabha. And so I saw the bird as Amitabha instantly. And then in this vision, then the bird came to me and sat down on my hand. And then with its beak, it kind of poked me and ate away all the dirt on my face. And I thought, this is really Amitabha. And I supplicated Amitabha that may you, now by eating away the dirt, purify all my obscurations, may I receive your blessings. So that was early that morning, and then about 2 or 3 hours later, Khenpo Tenzin Sangpo came to the monastery, but I had no idea. I didn't know that he would actually come to Gar Monastery. And then, like 2 or 3 hours after that, somebody said there's this really precious Khenpo coming to visit Gar Monastery. He's almost here. And immediately I felt that, he must be very precious. And I must go to greet him on the path right away. And so then I went and he arrived. And the first thing he said to me was, I've seen you before. And in response I said, me too, I saw you too. And that's the only exchange we first had. Actually, we never really met in person. But this was due to, we were able to say that because of this the quality of the lucidity of Buddha nature. That I saw this bird as Amitabha, which was really actually him. So as the bird, he already saw me, and so therefore he was able to say that with his clairvoyant mind. So basically, what we both said was the same thing. And also later, when he was sitting there on his throne and teaching the Dharma, and as I was looking at him, I realized that he just looks like that bird. And I knew that he was that bird, and that bird is inseparable from the Buddha Amitabha. And I had full trust that the Guru is inseparable from the Buddha Amitabha. So now here in Milarepa's quote, here it says, everywhere I stay is an infinite palace. So wherever I go is the palace of the deity. And when somebody has practiced bodhicitta, their mind becomes pure. And then the nature of that mind is Devachan, this pure land of great bliss. So the pure land of great bliss, Devachan, is all pervasive because it is your own mind. And when the mind becomes purified, and from the mind itself, within the mind itself, you experience Devachan. Devachan appears. So Devachan is not this solid thing that is composed of the rocks and earth and compounded phenomena. But still, we cannot say that it doesn't exist. It's there, but it exists like a rainbow in the sky. And so through whom have I found that? It was through the Guru. There was actually one other disciple I had, and she had a similar experience. It was Emily, who practiced in Lapchi. She was also an American. And she practiced meditation and retreat in Lapchi. And she said that sometimes and she meditated, and Lapchi, this entire place, all became Deva Chen in an instant. And then sometimes that disappeared again. So even though the perception of Deva Chen may have disappeared, it is just that it hasn't really disappeared. It's just that for a moment we cannot see it because the mind is obscured again. But what she saw is really a sign of Buddha nature. So also, that is a very good example. And so please keep that in mind. So what we need to understand, what's important to understand here to summarize, is that the Pure Land of Deva Chen and the Guru are all included within your own mind. So that's important to understand. And that actually really corresponds to reality. And I have understood that based on the story of Khenpo Tenzin Sangpo.
저 감성 코를 심지나 대니 어디 똑체미 남아 삼면 삼절이 그সম남이 등등상 소티 이지 소라 저절 소리 야절메 다단 제시에 자 조시라 요말 들이 일란도 다디 이제 동사 가래데 심지남 사제니 사제 양당도 가리 사제나 상코디 처럼 살려리 담나 사람 참저 사자집에 땅 그래서 그것도 뭐는 저도 뭐 대니 렌다 상제스 말 생긴 거한테 셈은 내로 또다 마도 제발도 상제 생긴이 제발이 셈권 이제 더 제발요 말 대해서 말이 들인디 조리들이 마디 좀 되더니 다다 그지 시라고 저기 하나 썼어 니보 마디를 약관도 없어 들인디 나디 되는 제가 이제 내가 남을 시기지 강이 니보 마디나 따뜻하 추탐제제 니보 사족 셈을 추탐제 니보 사족 셈을 상하게 니보에 담나이 요제데 즉디 칼로 추고 내제데 제 걸면 농자장에 시험을 상하게 니보에 담라지 살랍게 니보 라마지 오 대 살랍게 문에 신 랍스 새로 초와들 랩고 거리 도다도 하고 그 담아도 하고 그때 전하고 싸워 탐질라 말이지. 드리들이 탑지 모아서 이제 탑지 좀 모아서 기치 머리 다때 다 산이 용용선의 약사리 탑지 공 기치 모요리 아주 좋은 자소다 이 용용들 공 다들 이제 기치 모요리 이제 양산이 또 좋던 시간이
And then the verse by Miller Ripa continues, in general, sentient beings of the three realms have this very Buddha nature, but do not realize its full measure. By connecting with profound oral instructions, you attain the excellent samadhi, where the three kayas are not separate. When my final hour of death has come, I will be glad. So we will not go into explaining this verse because we are running out of time, but this verse is really saying that ultimately Buddhas and sentient beings are one. And I always mention that quote by the Buddha himself. The Buddha himself said, all beings are actually Buddhas. We always wonder that when will we be Buddhas? We have doubts about that in our mind. It is whenever you realize the view of Mahamudra, or as it is said in the Samantabhadra prayer that we always mention too, when you recognize it, you are a Buddha. Not recognizing it, you are a sentient being wandering in samsara. So the only difference between Buddhas and sentient beings is that one has realized the nature of mind while the other one has not. But on the basis, the fundamental nature of the mind is one and the same. So now the end of the last part of this fivefold path of Mahamudra summarizes the five elements or 5 steps. And actually, in the past, Khenpo Sherab Ösam said to me that it would be actually good to call this fivefold path the 5 essences. Because until that point, I would always say, I would just call it fivefold, the fivefold path. But he suggested that it actually could be called the 5 essences, and because they really are the essence. And for example, it is said the essence of the Dharma is bodhicitta. The essence of the secret mantra, Vajrayana, is the yidam. And so now when we speak about these 5 essences, we are not just speaking about a specific Jigong Kagyu path, but we are speaking about the real essence of the entire world, of everything that appears and exists. So the essence of the secret mantra is the yidam. Then the essence of blessings is the guru. The actual blessing arises when a feeling arises in your mind. A feeling must arise. And the feeling arises when you understand the meaning of the instructions that are being explained. And then the essence of skillful means is dedication. And that is also extremely important. And we will get to that a little in more depth next time. Sorry it took so much time, but this is actually quite important. But we will continue with the remainder of the prayer next time. And so therefore, Kenshin Sheraböse is really also one of my gurus, because he was always the one I was able to ask questions to, and he would respond to them. And then I had Khenpo Tenzin Sangpo also, who was very kind to me and answered my questions. So for the disciples in the future, this is how you should This is what you should take from that in the future. When you hear just one word of a Dharma teaching like this. So there was this quote we mentioned previously by the Mahasiddha Thangtong Gyalpo, who basically saw everyone who he encountered as his root guru. And that shows that the more root gurus you have, the better it is. And not even just in the sense of, in a Dharma sense, but also a worldly teacher is very precious. And because it is because of worldly teachers that you know how to eat food, and you know how to work, do something, you know how to make money, you learn how to spend a happy life. So it's also important, therefore, to have devotion to the worldly teachers. And Jigten Sumgön said that everything that is done in the field of knowable things is done by the Buddha, meaning that everything that is done through the quality of wisdom, and therefore it is done by the Buddha. Everything that anyone does is done through Buddha nature, as he mentioned before, and Buddha nature is all pervasive. And then if one develops the skillful means of great compassion, then through such wisdom or intelligence, then whatever one does becomes beneficial to others. And so that is what we call whatever is done by the Buddha. And then sometimes we do create some causes of suffering, and so that temporarily creates some obscuration. And so that's why we now need to practice to purify these obscurations. So it's important to remember the kindness of all the teachers. When you think of their kindness and their qualities, then their qualities will arise in your own mind. So it's important to respect your teachers and also to serve your parents. That's actually the greatest merit, is to look after your parents. And that is because they love you the most. And if you kind of bring to like a perfect end, if you follow all the way through with your love for them, that's the greatest merit actually that you can accumulate. On the other hand, even if you have some love, even if you love them, if you then just neglect them, or you get angry or jealous, then that love is like that medicine that turns into poison. And there is nothing worse, actually, than upsetting someone who loves you very much. In fact, it is a transgression of a root Bodhisattva vow. And so in the Bodhisattva vows, it says one should never cause sadness in the minds of faithful, loving ones. So if you let them down, and for example, if you follow the guru, but you let someone else down, who maybe you shares the same guru, and who love you very much, then there's really nothing worse that you can do when it comes to breaking the Bodhisattva vow. And also, you shouldn't think that the Dharma and samsaric or mundane activities are separate. So they actually are one. It depends just on your state of mind. So even if you engage in a ordinary samsaric activity, because you have to make a living in this world, you can become like the sun. There's a way of accumulating merit everywhere, your entire life. But on the other hand, even if you practice the Dharma, if you allow your bodhicitta to become spoiled and you allow the anger and jealousy to stay in your mind, then in this and future lives, you will be at great loss. So that is the samaya. The samaya with the guru is love for all beings. So whether or not you uphold the samaya depends on whether or not you are able to uphold love for all beings. So that is what I want you to keep in mind. And just like the Mahasiddha Thangtong Gyalpo had said, anyone can become your guru, your root guru. And so it is my hope, I hope that you will take this to heart and see root gurus around you everywhere. Everyone becomes your guru. So at the end of this prayer, there is a dedication, and dedication is extremely important. And I would like to take some more time to explain this better, because nowadays people do not really understand the cause of merit. Actually, there are so many ways to accumulate merit in all your activities, not just Dharma activities, all your mundane activities. But people don't recognize that, so a lot of opportunity for merit becomes completely wasted, because they think that only if I do actual meditation, Dharma practice, only this is a merit. But that's actually not true at all. Any activity can become an accumulation of merit. So also a mundane, ordinary activity. So it is just like when you look at a rock and you're kind of trying to extract gold from a rock. So the gold is not just one lump, but you see like stars, like many crystals of gold that pervade the entire rock. So it's everywhere. It's not just kind of concentrated in one certain place, but it pervades everywhere. So just like that, the opportunity for merit pervades everywhere, because your mind pervades samsara and nirvana, both. So the dedication, to properly dedicate, is a way to accumulate merit, to recognize merit. And so since it's very important, we will speak a bit more about it, because through that we can really transform our love into a vast ocean of love. Attaining the ultimate state of enlightenment depends on whether or not we have accumulated merit. And even if it's just a small virtue, if that is dedicated, as a result, one merges this with the enlightened mind of all the Buddhas, the intention of all the Buddhas. So it's very important to understand, so we will speak a bit more about that the next time. But for today, Dashi Delek Dhamma friends.
댐데 하장 짜치면도 이제 가장 참아 마음권 대로 정치 댐도 마음못 받는 것이 쌈짓매 잡아야지.
Yeah, so this booklet here that Rinpoche just held up, which is the 10 songs of the provisional and definitive meaning by Chetsimila Ripa, translated by Khenpo Tsultrim Gyamtso. So Rinpoche said this is extremely precious. And Dharma friends, in the future, I hope that you will obtain this book and study it well. So it would also be good to produce or print this book in the future. It's really quite incredible. May precious bodhicitta arise where it has not yet arisen. May it not decline where it has arisen. Where it has arisen, and may it ever further increase.
Bye, long. See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow.